Welcome to the Wine Find Talks. Today we have a very special guest with us from Oddbird. It's Mehmet Gurbizar, and he is the Chief Operating Officer for Oddbird. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for
Thanks
having
so
me.
much for joining us. I'm really excited about what you have to say today. So, Oddbird, what is your role there?
So I'm, as you said, COO, oversee operations and specifically also product development.
So, product development. I mean, in wine terms, that means winemaking, right?
That's right.
So tell me, now Oddbird, this wine especially, but Oddbird specializes in wine without alcohol.
Correct.
And it's one of the non-alcoholic wine brands that I have been impressed with. And it's difficult to impress me in the non-alcoholic sphere because there's so much very, shall we say, dire non-alcoholic wine out there. So this wine right here and the wines that you take care of, how is it that you're able to make a non-alcoholic wine that has structure and complexity and sort of a sophistication to it?
Well, yeah, I think it all goes back to our vision and mission that really starts with our idea about changing our alcohol culture and alcohol norms that we've created, where it's a mandatory to drink during celebratory occasions, which in turn creates a lot of problems within society, and we have millions of kids that are negatively affected by parents drinking. And in order for us to change, our vision and to disrupt and transform our alcohol norms, we want to change the perception of non-alcoholic wine. So the stuff you just talked about being low quality, not being sophisticated enough, feeling cheap or fake or whatever, that's a sentiment shared by many people. And we believe if we're able to change that sentiment, then we can have a real impact in changing our alcohol norms and culture, and in turn creating a better society for everyone.
Well, I agree. There needs to be options. I mean, you can choose to have a glass of wine, or you should be able to choose a delicious glass of something without alcohol. It shouldn't just be sparkling water and lemon.
Correct.
Love that. So what do we have in our glass right now?
So this is our Blanc de Blanc. It's made in the south of France, the Languedoc area, mainly Chardonnay. What we're trying to go for, what we're trying to really convey with our wines, no matter if it's the Blanc de Blanc or any other wines, is first of all some sort of reminiscence of the place it's from. So here we have, the typical French Chardonnay style, very green, crisp apples, some citrus, some almonds, some honey, that sort of crispy, biting into a green apple sensation.
Yes.
So we want to have some reminiscence of the terroir in the area, and at the same time we want to have some complexity and that sophistication that you talked about. And in our way we show that by having some very nice minerality and very high acidity.
Okay, now I love that. Now, just for our viewers here, Blanc de Blanc, means white of whites.
Yeah.
It's a style of wine coined in Champagne. Blanc de Blanc Champagne is pure Chardonnay-based sparkling wine made the traditional method. So this, you said, is based on Chardonnay.
Correct.
Is it just Chardonnay?
Yeah, we have Chardonnay and we have a little bit of Colombard as well to add some floral notes to it.
Okay, lovely. And is it made traditional method? Did you start out with a Vinclair and then make it sparkling in bottle? Like how did you make this wine?
Exactly. So we start off by selecting winemakers and vineyards that we believe have the right potential to create wines that we find suitable for. The technical term is de-alcoholization. We say liberated from alcohol. So we really want to find wines that are suitable and create wines that are suitable for that process. So not every wine is possible to de-alcoholize and have a great expression at the end of it. So we create the wine as traditional wines are made through maceration and fermentation, and then we mature them sometimes in steel, sometimes in oak, sometimes in a mixture for a year, and some products up to 3 years, and then we liberate it from alcohol.
How do you liberate it from alcohol?
So we have a method called vacuum distillation.
Yes.
Which is basically you put, and not to get too technical, you put the wine in a tank, you remove air and air pressure, and the boiling point for alcohol drops dramatically almost to room temperature, and the alcohol evaporates, and we bottle it.
Now,
That's it.
Okay, now with that in mind, are you saying that therefore you're not heating, the wine itself to a very high level,
Yeah.
which would thereby, I'm presuming, remove all the nuances that we love about wine?
Correct.
So that's the
Yeah.
secret.
Well, I think a bit of it is the process. Having a refined process is important in liberating it. But the majority of our work goes into what do we actually put into that process, and what wines do we craft and create that we want to, liberate. That's what I would say is the most important piece of the puzzle, is actually crafting those wines. And another important piece is also not trying to, from our ethos in winemaking, all our products is just the alcoholized wine, right? Whereas I think in the industry you can find a bunch of additives and water and whatever there might be in those products.
So this is pure wine. There's
Yeah.
nothing but
Yeah.
wine that's
Yeah.
been dealcoholized.
Yeah, that's it.
Liberated from alcohol.
That's right.
Okay, now you talked about it needs the original wine must meet a certain criteria.
That's right.
Can you say what 3 criteria are that you might look for?
So on a sense, we have 2 types of criteria. Either that's a molecular criteria, so that means it has to have certain qualities. That could be some interval within acidity or sugar, or pH.
Yes.
But then we also have the sensory aspect, where we all try the wine, and by trying the wine, we've come to that know-how that we can say we believe that these notes or tones that we feel will be there after the alcoholization.
So both structural as well as flavor characteristics.
Exactly.
Love it. Well, let's taste this because now I'm really curious. Now I know this wine, but please let's taste it with me. Now, if you're doing that, are you worried about removing the bubbles?
No.
No. Okay, I am. I'm not. So let's have a nose. Now, so many de-alcoholized wines or wines without alcohol simply smell like apple juice.
Yeah.
This does not.
Yeah.
I love that.
Very fresh.
Very fresh,
Yeah.
very vinous.
Yeah.
Really, it smells like wine. Citrus, yes, and almond. I'm getting the almond, which
Yeah.
I love to find in a Blanc de Blanc.
Yeah.
Hint of toastiness, maybe biscuitiness. This is smelling a bit like I would expect from a Blanc de Blanc, which is magic. Love that. I'm not going to lead the witness anymore. I'm going to let you lead me through this. So let's have a taste.
So immediately you have that sort of sharpness, right? The green, biting into a green apple sensation.
Yes.
And then you immediately start with some roundness to it, like melon or elderflower, even some bitterness, toastiness. Some citrusy notes, obviously, that still lingers, and that high acidity that it ends up with that you can start feeling already in your mouth. And this will all obviously develop in the glass. So now I think it has, very fresh in the glass, very high sharpness. In about 5 minutes, I think it's going to develop more of those floral and white fruit tones, but still with that high acidity, of course.
Well, thank you for taking me through that. I follow absolutely. The attack is wonderful because the attack is, like you say, so crisp, so bright, very luminescent. And then it does fan out with everything you talked about. I mean, I'm getting the citrus, yes. The white fruit, yes. The stone fruit, for sure.
Yeah.
And what I'm taken by is the underpinnings, the nuttiness and the
Yeah.
biscuitiness, and
Yeah.
the yeast notes,
Yeah.
as well as a little bit, a hint of sort of sweet cream, which is lovely. And then that lingers on the finish, and it's still there. So there's quite a length, and length is so important for.
Very.
We talk about sophistication because if you're is this about $25, $30, $35? How much?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Nail it. How much does this cost in Canada and the US?
In Canada, it's around 22.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. I think that's great value because it tastes like a wine.
Yeah.
It's got the complexity and the charm of wine, but without the alcohol, and it's so hard to achieve, and you've done it. And that length is still there. Now, length is so important for bridging to food. What would you pair with this wine?
Well, I think it certainly has the acidity to support some spiciness. And it has that freshness also to go really well with some seafood and fish and some fresh salads as well.
I'd love that with sweet crustaceans,
Yeah.
something like maybe king crab legs,
Yeah.
maybe dunked in beurre blanc.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
Fantastic.
So I think the acidity, well, since we have that sort of length as you talked about, and that high acidity, it opens up a lot of opportunities for pairing. Even in the world of cheese, there's so much that could go really well with this type of.
What kind of cheese do you like with this wine?
My favorite is a creamy Kaltenbach. To go with this one, yeah.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. I'm
That's
going to
my
try that.
favorite.
That's on my bucket list
Yeah.
now. Well, I love that. So I'm really excited with what you're doing at
Thank you.
Oddbird and how you're really achieving something that I think is quite groundbreaking, because there's not a lot of people in this space that can do the job well, meaning create a wine that tastes like a wine without alcohol, without, like you said, layering in all sorts of flavorings and additives. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Cheers.